This is the build I've been running this league, 3.24. I've been trying to fine tune it. I just want to show what this looks like on a normal map, like normal Minotaur. As you can see, it's pretty clean. It's pretty good. It feels like my old Ice Shot build in that sense from 3.13, but quite a bit more expensive to pull off. So what I'm going to try here is a fully juiced up Minotaur, fully alked up, 80% delirious. And this is a fun run because we actually get to fight Kosis and Minotaur simultaneously, 80% delirious. So we're gonna just kind of show the footage of how this feels to battle. This is of course Lightning Arrow. I've never done Lightning Arrow before this league. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've done it as a leveling skill, but never as a like endgame build. So you'll see interesting stuff going on. Lots of projectiles, lots of returning projectiles. Now, I do think there are stronger lightning arrow setups out there, but this one does not rely on Trinity support. We don't have to worry about our cold and our fire. We're not like pure fizz conversion, but we do fizz conversion and then like just flat lightning. And so it's kind of a simple, intuitive build, and has some interesting stuff going on, which I'm going to show at the end of what I did. I always play my own builds. This is out of my brain, of course, as always. And you'll see it's pretty functional. It's maybe not my strongest build, but it's pretty good. My life is dipping all over the place, and I'm going to explain at the end why, but it's worth it. I actually was tankier, and I sacrificed a little bit of tankiness for DPS. And not quite glass cannon. I don't like glass cannon builds, but it's a little bit stronger that way. Build uses one unique on its gear besides the flask, and it's not a cheap unique. And a lot of you watching this already know what unique I'm using because you know the game well enough, but I'll go over that at the end. Now, what I should have done was put Harbinger Scarabs in here because I've done that like crazy. I actually was trying to set up a farming strategy as a video content, but never got good drops just because of my RNG. I always make all my money with gambles or crafts. And so that has not been showcased, but I might show that later. For the meantime, this is just showing off the one build I've done this league. I have not done multiple characters. Coming up soon, of course, is my crafting league, my private league. So I don't think I'm going to be doing a second character this league, frankly. I'll just stick with this one. I wanted to avoid a spell character, like a witch. And I wanted to not do Flicker Strike this setup, because I've done it multiple times recently. I do love Flicker Strike. So, let's see how this goes. Yep, so I got hit with Kosis' Shockwave. So we went back in. Quite interesting, right? Quite a bit of fun. Very fun. 80% delirious. Minotaur with Kosis in the room. I've actually never had that happen before in my many years of playing. So it's good footage. We use a Blood of Karui for quick heal. We use this movement and bleed flask. We have Bottled Faith, of course, with increased effect. Dying Sun for extra projectiles, and then 5% max res. We have a Diamond Flask for crit, and then this is where we put Ignite. It's a lightning arrow set up at its core. We have Enduring Cry, auto casting for healing, and there's a reason. When we attack like this, you'll see a little bit of damage taken. I'm going to go into this in a sec. Enduring Cry heals us, and also gives us endurance charges. Steel Skin, dash for movement. Val Haste, Frenzy of Onslaught is our triggered skill, and a Flame Golem with Culling Strike. We use Precision, Wrath, the Call to Arms, of course, for auto-casting the Warcry, Haste itself, and then an auto-cast Sniper's Mark. Sniper's Mark is better than Assassin's Mark. I have checked multiple times. Soul of the Brine King is mostly for freeze immunity, helps with our stuns, and then we have Ralakesh for bleed. Now, let's go over all of the gear. I made this bow myself. You can see it's got one additional arrow. It would be nice to have 2 additional arrows, but the eye level is too low. It needs to be eye level 86, but has a lot of fizz, a lot of flat lightning, and then some crit. Of course, perfect would be even stronger crit, like flat rolled. It does have perfect attack speed, along with 2 additional arrows along with a tier 1% fizz. Our gloves are mostly for lightning exposure, and then reses, attributes, lightning conversion. Very important because we don't use fizz to lightning support. Of course, we want to stack on life. Unfortunate roll on the fizz to attacks. We wish that was tier 1. Stygian Vice, belt for reses, life, lots of percent life. It's a hunter base. Pretty great Bistule, as you can see. It gives accuracy, it gives crit multiplier, it gives everything we need. It gives accuracy, it gives life, it gives all kind of good stuff. These shoes are great. Lots of res, 30% movement, mandatory. This is where we put brittle ground for even more chance for crit if they're standing on it, and then a little bit of extra stacking on the Eldritch Implicit. This ring is fantastic. It's our Chaos ring. This is how we get our Chaos res. We don't have to have the global accuracy, but it doesn't hurt. It certainly helps. We're actually not at 100% on evasive monsters. This is where we get a little more strength and intelligence. We need lots of that because if you start noticing, we have lots of armor-based gear. This quiver, very critical. Of course, this hit the wrong one. It did not hit the item cells. It hit the attack speed. In a perfect world, we'd have chain implicit with attack speed still on the broadhead base. But it does have perfect tier 1 lightning, flat to attacks, attack speed, crit chance, life, and then just damage with bows, I believe. Yep, damage with bows. It has cold, which should be physical. If the cold was replaced with physical, and then if we had the attack speed implicit still on there, this would be an absolute perfect quiver for this setup. Our amulet is also a rare. This is where we put charisma. It needs to be onyx for lots of attributes, because of course we mostly green, but we need to really get the intelligence and the strength. This is where we get +1 to lightning skills. A few other nice things for DPS. Self-made helmet. I just made this recently. You can see it's double elevated. Elevated, critical strike multiplier, elevated. Nearby enemies have less lightning res. We stack that like crazy. And then we have physical damage taken as fire. Why not? It could be lightning, it could be whatever, but we're not max armor. We're just trying to get our armor up. We're actually not going evasion on this setup at all. Made this body armor myself. It has strength, it has a lot of life, it has an additional curse that we forced on, it has lots of flat armor on the base, and it has an elevated crit chance suffix. And you wonder, why not elevate the 15 minus 15 mana cost of attacks? We want to actually not have that minus 20 because we want to spend 6 mana. Because we use a lightning arrow setup with increased critical damage. Awakened, LE damage with attacks so that we don't have LE reflect. Awaken added lightning. Inspiration, this gives us, of course, less mana cost by itself, but also more crit and more LE damage. And volatility. We don't have any fizz to lightning because we get everything converted, mostly from the gloves and then also from our passive tree. Now, minus 15 instead of minus 20, we want to spend a little bit of mana. It's okay to do that, it doesn't hurt. This setup here, Awaken Hex Touch with Conductivity. We apply a level 21, actually level 23, with the buffs. This is my old ring. It was a level 1 conductivity. Fantastic ring if you read through it. I mean, this ring was great. Crit all over the place. I really liked this ring a lot. I made this ring myself and I liked it a lot at the time and I used it for a long time, but I needed a unique ring, which I'm going to get to. It's up for 15 divine. I don't know what it's going to actually sell for. But it worked out because level 1 conductivity. This one here, minus 39 or whatever. The other was like minus 17. So we use this Awaken Hex Touch with flat conductivity. Cuts its effectiveness a little bit, but much better effectiveness. This is connected with our Frenzy of Onslaught. This gives us Frenzy charges and Onslaught without having to have a flask or having it on our shoes, which is a Veritania Redeemer mod. And I didn't want to deal with that because my shoes are Eldritch shoes. This, of course, is all triggered with Mana Forged Arrows support. Now, if we just did this by itself, there is a big fat problem. We're not even using this for damage. We're using it for Frenzy Charges, Onslaught. If you look, 300% of mana cost. We don't have much mana cost. We have 6 mana cost. So if we do this, look. See that green? That all the golden are my MTX on my lightning arrow. When it was green, that was my Frenzy of Onslaught. It triggers extraordinarily rarely. So I had to figure out a strat to get this to actually work so that we were constantly triggering Frenzy of Onslaught, so we had constant Onslaught and constant Frenzy charges, and constant Conductivity with the extra effect, not the level 1 shit from our ring. The answer is Life Tap. Life Tap means that we burn life instead of mana on this setup. And so, because 300% of mana cost, 300% of 6, it's 0 because we're using that. 100%, you saw the green shit? 100% of the time we're casting this. Every single strike that gets triggered. And we put this on so that we don't have LE Reflect. We do have to watch Fizz Reflect a little bit because it does do some physical damage because we're not max Fizz conversion because Lightning Arrow has 50% built in and Frenzy of Onslaught does not. Now here's where we put our our Wrath, our Haste with our Val Haste, and our Precision. Inside of the boots, we put our Sniper's Mark, which is triggered by Mark on Hit, of course, and then we have our Dash movement skill, and then we have Steel Skin, which I actually have forgotten to quality. Never qualitied it, never bothered. Should be qualitied. Now our helmet has Culling Strike connected to our Flame Golem for more damage, because I always put Culling Strike on my Golem if I can. This is where we put Enduring Cry so we get to heal periodically, because we burn that little bit of health. And it also gives us a source of endurance charges. And a little bit more armor, because all of our gear is armor-based. We don't have any evasion. I'm going to get into spell suppression shortly. In fact, let's take a look. This is our tree. We have Focal Point, which helps our Mark effect, our Sniper's Mark, which gives us Split, by the way, and extra projectile damage taken. We get our Gale Force and Tailwind, but we don't take Wind Ward. It would be nice enough to have it. Less damage per Gale Force would be nice. But because we're not evasion-based, it's logical not to take this because we would lose our Gale charges all the time. We have mediocre armor. It's not perfect. I took Determination for a very long time, but eventually replaced it with Haste. So in favor of DPS, we got rid of Determination and kept Haste instead. Now look, right here, we only have this look like 30-something% spell suppression. I started thinking about an old movie from my childhood, and I just realized I had 100% spell suppression for so long. I just realized, don't fucking worry about it. Just stop worrying about it. Let's just get our DPS up. Kill them before they kill you. Now, double source of chain, hugely critical. We get it from our ascendancy. We get it from the implicit on our quiver. See, right here, I used to take spell suppression, just stop fucking worrying about it, did not max it, did not bother. This way I was able to go up this way, get a little bit more life. Here's our crit. This is plus to life. More bow nodes. We got all kind of shit related to crit and accuracy. We were able to take this here, the links section, and then of course able to grab all this by not having to worry about our spell suppression. Get our DPS up. Monsters cannot block our attacks. No more Affliction League. We can't use Warden of Magi for that. This is where we get our leech. This is how we leech mana right here. That's the only source of it. That's the only reason we sustain our mana. Because we don't spend a lot of mana, but we have to leech a little bit. Lionized Fall, of course, converts all these claw and dagger nodes regarding crit and attack speed into bow nodes, which is always nice. It's been kind of shifted around over the leagues, but Lionized Fall still does have its purpose. It's pretty much always want to be put in right there. Arcing Blows, we do this for damage penetration, and then Lightning Mastery, so we get Fizz conversion for nearly max Fizz conversion on our Frenzy, and of course 100% conversion on our Lightning Arrow. Extra projectile here. Disoriented Display is our source of blind. Overshock for a little bit more shock effect. Here's more damage penetration, and then of course because we're crit based, Basics of Pain pressure points, we do that double. This is our Watcher's Eye. Even more damage penetrate with Wrath. Crit multiplier, of course. Gain physical as extra lightning. Look at this. Penetration. 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 And conductivity. So, who the fuck needs LA weakness? It's like your mom, it's just penetration all the time. With the extra curse. Now, Electric Presence. This helps, of course, with being able to stack 4 auras. It's actually mandatory. And we use this right here. 7% instead of 6% because of increased effect on the cluster, on the small cluster. And that way we only have to have a level 3 enlightenment. It saves us so much fucking money instead of doing a level 4 enlighten just by grabbing increased effect on our Wrath node. I kid you not. Now, I've been saving this for the end. This is the expensive part of the build. This is the only unique I do, and this, of course, is my Nemes. And this is projectiles return to you. Projectiles are fired in random directions, extra projectile damage, and it gives, like, you know, dex and lightning. Could be double corrupted, but that's why it looks like this instead of just straight ahead. And it made a huge difference, and it was horribly expensive, but it was worth it. Look at all these arrows in this invisible wall. Lightning arrow, RPG Geigen style.